I've got the honor of having Chef Shawn Denney. Is that how you pronounce your name?
That is. Good job.
Let's go right into it. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
Doing well. You actually worked today, didn't you? How did lunch go?
Insanely busy.
Oh, yeah.
We've been blessed with coronavirus and, with the winter storm that just affected Texas. There's a lot of factors going into being a chef and working in a restaurant right now that have been pretty negative for the most part, but our location has been so blessed because we're in a residential, we're also by businesses, so we've seen continuous business over and over and over.
That's actually really good to hear. I was going to ask that eventually. I mean, everybody's struggling, so that's actually really good to hear. Let's start at the very beginning. When did you first know you wanted to be a chef?
Funny story, and my mom might be a little upset that I'm sharing this. So I was probably 9 years old, man, probably 9 years old. I wanted to help make soup because my aunt was coming into town. So my mom helps me. She gets the broth ready. She gets the veggies ready. So I take the meat and I just put it in. I mean, I put this giant block of ground beef in. She's like, "What are you doing? You can't do that." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, I don't know. And maybe it's the proving my mom wrong part that was so enticing. I'm kidding. My mother is a sweet lady. But it was just that. I grew up cooking with my grandmother. As cliche as it sounds, that's what makes a lot of chefs.
I've been listening to a lot of podcasts in preparation for this, and a lot of them, to be honest, that's a common thing, starting with the grandma. It's not even the parent, it's normally the grandparent. Where was your first job as a cook?
Technically, it was Chicken Express. Okay,
Oh,
I
okay.
started as a cashier, started cooking, and then I got a job offer, and this is what I consider my first real, at least restaurant job. Okay,
Hmm.
um, I got a job offer at this place called Gerhard's. They offered me a little bit more than I was making at Chicken Express. I was making minimum wage. It was just a fry cook in Denton, Texas.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, whatever. So it was this German man that owned the restaurant. It was a German chef as well. Can I cuss on this?
Yeah, absolutely. We can say whatever. It's fine.
You see, he was batshit fucking crazy. Okay, and I mean that lovingly. It was a German spot in Denton, on kind of by the square in Denton. There was like schnitzel, and there was German potato salad, and this man still owes me a paycheck, so I'm gonna just say it was brown gravy from Cisco on the schnitzel. I'm gonna say that it was a pre-made potato salad, but it opened my eyes as to what being a cook actually was. It's not just making pasta and ragu at your house. It's not just, feeding yourself. It's creating a creative passion, you know?
Yeah, it's truly a science. I am a big science geek. In fact, a lot of my podcasts are going to be on science, and I think this fits
That's awesome.
right in. I can't describe it. When you cook, the actual molecules change in temperatures and things. So you have to actually understand where parts of meat come from, parts of the animal, because of the density of muscle itself. And I think it's awesome. I really do.
Um, it's crazy that you say that. There's so much to it, right? I mean, obviously there's a creativity and there's a science like you brought up, but did you know, okay, so pre-COVID, we used to do a pasta class over at Maggiano's. I wouldn't just do it to be like, yeah, let's make some pasta, whatever. Y'all gonna learn something. So what I would tell them is the reason that we need the dough as much as we do, obviously everyone knows that it helps create gluten and whatnot, but do you know, imagine this, okay, here's a little web. You've got a gluten molecule here, and you've got a gluten molecule here, maybe one over here. But the more that you need it and need it and need it, what you're doing is you're burping those glutens and they're recreating it. It just goes from these coupled to these huge connected web of glutens. And it's like, bro, science.
Yeah, it really that's actually really awesome. I didn't know that. I do know, like, okay, salt. What type of salt do you have in your kitchen, and what type of salt do
I
you?
use kosher.
The reason that most kitchens don't have iodide salt is because iodide, it oxidizes really easily, and whenever anything reaches about 350 degrees, it'll oxidize and it'll have like a metal taste to it. So typically, you don't really add salt until the very very end anyway. Is that correct?
Uh, yes and no. Yes, because especially when it comes to scrambled eggs, because when you add salt to scrambled eggs, it breaks down the proteins in the eggs themselves and they become mushy and not the scrambled eggs that we're used to, the ones that grandma could make. But when you're searing proteins, for example, you want to make sure that you put the salt layer on, so that way when you put it on, you get this nice crusty layer. I mean, the reason that I like kosher salt so much is because one, it's salt. Two, it creates this amazing texture. I mean, when you have a nice piece of steak, you put some good thick kosher salt. a little thick ground pepper, and it's not only do you get the nice flavor of seared meat, that Maillard reaction, but you also get the texture of the salt and the pepper, which I think is very important.
Yeah, since we're on this topic of science, yeah, texture is a big deal. So the iodide salt that I keep talking about is the table salt, we'll call it, is it's cubical in shape. Like if you were to look at it in a microscope, they look like cubes. That cube likes to bounce off of things when you put it on. If you were to sprinkle it on a steak, it'll actually just mostly fall onto the pan and not stick to the steak. But the kosher salt looks more like a deformed cotton ball. So it bonds to the meat and it'll stick there. And you're right, like when you eat it, you feel that texture, and it will have that massive amount of flavor real quick and then dissolve really fast because it's salt.
That's awesome, man. I actually didn't know that, so nice job.
Science in cooking, it is a science, and there's no doubt about it. And the more I learn, especially with sauces, I used to think like a saucier chef. I mean, I knew that every chef has this thing, but I had no idea the complexity of sauce and the different types and different stages, the no waste factor. When you guys prep your meat, do you keep everything you cut off and everything, like no scrap?
We used to. Now, luckily, we are able to source it to where it's already cleaned up, ready to go. I mean, it's such a more consistent product for the guest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as we go on, in 2021 and forward, it's all about, one, consistency, which obviously, you need that in a restaurant, and two, reliability. We have gone away from that. We've gone away from the beautiful, beautiful proteins from these different companies that come to us ready to rock and roll.
Nice. Okay, that's good. That's actually a really good business idea for them.
Right.
Somebody needs this. Did you go to school for culinary?
I went to the school of Google.
Yeah, okay, great. I love it, actually. It's just as effective. In fact, I think if you're ambitious enough, I mean, it's just as valuable as school. And the hard part is mentorship, but if you work in a restaurant like you did, great restaurants, that's all you need.
When you go to culinary school, I mean, there's different reasons for it. So obviously this is not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. But when some people go to school, they go to school because they feel like they have to do something, right? That's what we do. We work, we make money. There's not necessarily that passion there. There might be intrigue, yes, but it's not passion. And when you don't go to school and you have passion in something and you know how to ask the right questions, I believe that it can just be as beneficial, especially, when you have good mentors, like you said, when you're willing to learn and to put in the work to learn. Yeah, I mean, it's to think that you have to go to culinary school and to do all these things to be successful is just simply not true.
I agree. Unless you're literally looking at going, like, this would be end game, because no matter what, you have to put in the work. But if you're literally looking at, like, going to be the top chef of the world and, like, willing to get anything thrown at you at all, like, then you might want to go to school. But, for the most part...
go to a French restaurant because they are quite mean and they will literally throw things at you.
That's actually a really good point. A lot of cooking is based on the French style of cooking, and French style was very military, and that really shows in their kitchens. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. I think military is the best way to put it, I swear.
I do.
Your kitchen's a lot more laid back, although that's not entirely true. Although I see people having fun, it is a very high quality kitchen, which does incorporate strictness needed. Actually, I'm going to jump right into that. The reason I was always fascinated with chefs, I was always a waiter. I have accumulated about 7 years of waiting experience, and I've always seen the cooks, and in other restaurants, in the lower end restaurants, like Spaghetti Warehouse or Black Eyed Pea or, Chili's. They're not bad restaurants, but the chefs are they're cooks, they're not really chefs. And the actual chef, by title, they don't really call them a chef. He's more of a kitchen manager, which really is the job of a chef, but it's a little different. They kind of unbox all the ingredients. They'll make tomato sauce, and they'll unbag already packed things and throw it in quantities that are already done. So it's a little different. But when you get into places like, I worked at Cheesecake Factory and Papa Dough was extraordinary. But so is Cheesecake Factory. I would put those two in the same caliber as Maggiano's. The difference at Maggiano's, though, is leadership. When I looked at the kitchen, I saw nothing but leaders, and that was so fascinating to me. And leaders are not born, they're made. Now, people can be born with natural leadership qualities, and that's good. People can be born naturally good at basketball, but if they don't practice, they'll never be anything special, even if you're gifted at the beginning. But Maggiano's, I mean, I don't know how to describe it. They put you in an environment to thrive, yet it's intense. It's difficult, and I think a lot of us thrive in those intense, difficult moments.
So let me tell you a story. I first started out at Maggiano's as a saucier. The reason that I loved Maggiano's so much was the culture. And the culture ties into that because it's not just, hey, let's go cook this food and then, have a nice night. No, we have cleaning drills that we call over the mic. We have very strict standards. And we have a way of life that we need to follow because every company has a culture, but this one is special. I won't go too much into it because it is, proprietary and it's confidential. They definitely know how to pick the best people.
I really think the only way to make a successful kitchen, a lot of companies may relate to this, but in the kitchen, you can't just have one leader. You're essentially building a team of leaders because everybody has to make decisions by themselves. If one chef, let's say if you had to make every decision along the way, it would fail because you would never be able to be at every spot in every moment. Hiring the correct people, hiring people that are not just able but willing is a big thing, I think. And oh man, I'll tell you, a really busy kitchen like Maggiano's, it'll weed out the unwilling for sure.
You're correct about that, my friend.
I respect cooks so much in the sense that you guys show up in the early hours, and then some people work all day and leave late night. I can only imagine, and they drink, too. Sometimes they go out, and I can only imagine literally they'll go out and then come right back to work. I mean, there's no other way to do it. They only have a couple hours off in between,
Nah, we don't drink.
Oh, was that alcohol? That's really funny.
That was definitely alcohol.
I actually quit alcohol, but it was actually for a diet. I actually went full keto.
I saw that. How's that going for you?
Oh, it's going amazing. I cheated this weekend. I was at for the first time actually, and I cheated large. It wasn't just like one pizza slice. I was at a kid's birthday party, and I was really hungry. I hadn't eaten all day, which is common. And they had pizza, and there's way too much pizza. It was all going to go to waste. It's like, you know what? I'm not doing this because I'm dying. I'm just like, I'll cave in. And I'll tell you, today I'm hungover. I've napped twice. I had no idea. It was as if I went out drinking all night. My body was it did not metabolize that sugar in a way that, I mean, I liked it. It was like an energy drink. It was really weird. But no, the diet's amazing, and I don't want to go too far into it, but I'm feeling really good, and I'm really doing it because I've got arthritis and really bad, like my thumb. Well, actually, you can't see it, but my thumb's swollen up really bad, and I'm trying to take care of that, and they say that this diet could help, so it's an experiment. But
that's good.
Having this weekend, and even I had ice cream last night too. I was like, you know what, fuck it, let's indulge. And I'm really glad I did the fuck it moment because now I know that I'm actually hungover. If I barely did it, I may not have actually noticed that much of a difference. It's actually really helped my teeth as well. I've noticed my teeth have just been in pain for a while, and without sugar in my diet, it makes sense, but it's weird, but they actually squeak when I brush my teeth. I've never had that in my life.
Oh my God, your dog and your teeth both squeak.
Oh, my dog squeaks so much. Yeah. No, I have them with a closed door. I was just doing a podcast with my dad today and had to interrupt because my dog was just out the door squeaking. I was like, oh my God, this is not good. Like,
hilarious.
I've got the software to edit a lot of that out, but I would have to do so much work. I was like, I just got to get rid of this dog. Not get rid of it, but get rid of the situation. Okay, so we're on the labor aspect. That's good. Do you think when people are wanting to be a chef, because we talked about the love for cooking, and yes, that is what most people are drawn towards, being a chef is about, what they feel like it's about, and it is about cooking. But I think a bigger part of being a chef is work. I mean, it is labor intensive. It is rough. And do you think that most people underestimate the amount of labor cooking involves?
I believe there's a common misconception about chefs. One, they believe that they cook all of your food. No, we just kindly boss the people that do around.
I think I consider it like you're the conductor to an orchestra.
Right. But and two, I believe there's another common misconception that, okay, for example, I saw a meme and it was like, cook, sous chef, executive chef, and the executive chef was just sitting there on a laptop and the sous chef was like doing stuff, the cook was cooking and whatnot, but it's like, That's not how it works. So, for example, in order to help us, again, like I said, we've been blessed, we've been busy. In order to prepare the food that we need to prepare when we're doing the numbers that we're doing, you can't just only rely on your crew, because if you do, they're going to sink, and they're going to go find another job because they don't have the preparation and support that they need. So it is my job as a chef to go and support them and just prep and prep and prep and cook and cook and cook. I mean, today was so busy that I was literally back in the back prepping, to the front to coordinate, to the line to cook, to the front to coordinate again, to go back to prep. And it's short answer, yes. I do think that people underestimate the labor that goes into it.
Yeah, and cooking in general, but that's actually really cool what you just said. A good leader, which I truly believe you are. It's why I asked you to come on here. You and I'll call it your mentor, Dan. You two are amazing people, and Dan, I swear, he's a natural leader with practice. Like he is inspiring. Like no matter everybody who meets him, he's got that personality. He really reminds me of Joe Rogan, to be honest.
He definitely does that. Now I will say, so I don't know if you've heard, but we actually have a new leader, a chef named David Duran. So he was over at North Park. He's been with the company for like 20 years. And, Dan taught me so much about the back of house financials, and he taught me, leadership qualities, and he taught me a lot about food. But then David comes in. David is the hardest worker you will ever meet. This man is in his 50s. He works harder than anyone. It's almost embarrassing to me, because I try to work by him. And when he first came, he was working. It's like, well, if he's putting all this, I'm not going to make him go it alone. I'm going to go about it too. And yeah, I had a couple bad days.
It actually adds to what I was saying about you, is how what really makes a good leader is you're in the mess with them. Like, that's actually really important as well, because you'll never really understand what's going on unless you're always there. So you're not always there at every moment, but you're always aware of what's going on. And that really helps, especially when, oh my gosh, there are moments in the kitchen. In any entertainment business, there's moments where it's just so extremely stressful. Nothing seems to be going right. There's no end, and ticket times could be, I don't even want to say the numbers, But in those moments, how do you personally find peace and overcome mentally those moments?
So you have the choice. You have the choice to just keep fighting because you know that it's not going to be like this forever, or you have the choice to just give up and not support your team and just, when I think about it, the optics of a leader is important. And it's very important because let's not dwell on it, but let's talk about Christmas Eve a couple years ago.
Yeah.
If you're not sitting there trying, then your team is not going to try. So that helps with the stress, but also coming home to my beautiful wife and my beautiful beer, that helps sometimes too.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good point. Just keep going, because that's the only thing you can do. A lot of people, so as a waiter, whenever I'm in those, we call it weeds, the best thing you can do is, you have to keep the whole picture, obviously, in your mind. Know your end goal and what everything you need to do, but let's concentrate on what you need to do now, as opposed to everything, so first you establish what needs to be done and what needs to be done first, and then just concentrate on that first moment, and then right along you don't even need to think from then. You'll know the next moment when you get down with that. I'd say that try to clear your mind as best, because man, those moments they're enough to make you want to quit, never come back, even though you love your job. Oh man.
And it's so crazy. I don't know if you feel this way too, but because at the time you're just like, man, this sucks, we got to get through it, But then afterwards, that's what entices me so much about the restaurant industry in general, is because it is balls to the wall. There's not a dull moment. And, the times you don't like it, but afterwards you're just like, it was kind of cool. I mean, it was terrible, but it was kind of cool.
Yeah. I honestly thrive in those types of jobs. At Maggiano's, I don't want to say I did poorly. I'm a good waiter in the sense that, I could remember what people wanted. I wrote everything down. I was friendly. These are all qualities of a waiter that are good. but I was not a very good salesman. And Maggiano's was a unique place for me because the wait staff were very talented. I'm good in junior varsity, but I'm not very good when I get to varsity waiting, if that makes any sense. I was surrounded by amazing waiters, and I think I was ranked 30 out of 50 most of the time. But
Well, I will say I don't remember giving my comp card to you as much, so that was good to me.
yeah, exactly. There you go. So the good news is I didn't mess up often, but I wasn't, in a sense, I wasn't the greatest waiter there. And I remember feeling one day, it's like, I don't feel appreciated. But when I say that, I wasn't that I didn't feel the company appreciated me. It was that normally I thrive in companies and I'm normally like a star employee, and like, because most of my jobs are labor intensive and I've always been able to out labor the next. So when I get to waiting tables, it didn't seem like my niche. But when I see in the kitchen that labor intensive thing, I think I would have, without arthritis, it was really actually very saddening to me when I wasn't able to be a chef just because I wasn't able to use my hands. It was a really big part of it. But I think I really would have done well in that labor intensive way. And honestly, the leadership quality is, I don't think even at this moment in my life, I would be the perfect leader. I don't know if anybody ever reaches that, but I think the best quality in anybody, I think, is to be able to self-reflect and self-improve. And that's something a little new in the intensity that I'm doing it now.
To me, what makes a great leader is, one, empathy. There will be hard decisions, really, really hard decisions. Terminating people that you care about, that their family, but they're just not making the cut. It's also just wanting to make an impact, and I believe that you would have done that well. Because if you're a leader and you're not looking to make an impact, then you're just getting a paycheck.
Yeah. I'll tell you, we spoke a little bit about mentors. Mentoring it's hard to know even who you're mentoring. Sometimes you have a really good idea when people look up to you, but a lot of the time, I should say, you have no idea how much impact you really do to people when you are a leader. Like Dan, for instance, when I made the decision I wanted to be a chef, I wanted to do it at Maggiano. So I asked Dan to sit down, just take time. I think it took like half a week for it to actually happen, but he did, and I loved it. He sat down with me for like 40 minutes, and we spoke about, where I was at, my experience, which was practically zero in the sense of, restaurant cooking. I love home cooking. I've been an enthusiast in cooking for a long time. It's nothing what he was looking for. He gave me great advice of where to start, what type of restaurant to go into, and, gave me a long-term plan, not just the first step. And I thought that was very valuable information. It also goes into where you said, knowing how to ask the right questions. I wouldn't have learned all that if I didn't go through that conversation beforehand and figured out what questions even to ask him, because he's not just going to pull out the information from nothing.
Right. That's complicated as well, because you want to teach everyone everything, but when somebody comes to you, someone new to the company, they come to you and they're like, hey, I just want to learn how to do so much more, blah, blah, blah. It's like, look, I will help you do whatever you want to do, but you got to tell me what the fuck you want me to do.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck you want to do,
Yeah, absolutely. Out of everyone you've worked for, since we're talking about leaders, who inspired you the most? Who would be the closest thing to a mentor for you?
It's a hard question. That's a hard question, because I've got positive things to say about almost all of the leaders, except for the German asshole. He was an asshole.
Okay.
But let me break it down like this. I worked for a chef, Danny Bays, over at LSA Burger in Denton, Texas. He taught me what it was like to be a Texas chef. You can do chicken confit. You can piquant sauce. You can make the bougie things, the French things. Being a regional chef, or finding these different things and finding your niche, that's what's important. He inspired me to become a Texas-style chef. I love barbecue, right? Of course, who doesn't like barbecue?
Mm-hmm.
But that southern vibe that you get from a chef, that's what that man taught me. And like I said, Dan taught me a lot of the back house financials. He taught me one of the most important lessons that I think I've learned as a leader, and it was don't care what people think about you, because you will make mistakes. You will go to a table, talk to them about an allergy, trip up all over your words, make yourself look fucking stupid, but it's okay,
Yeah,
right? Because we're human beings. And David Duran taught me, I think, what it really meant to be a leader.
that's a really good point. It's actually known to be the like nobody really says it, but that's known to be the highest quality that people look for in a leader is being centered, being honest. When I say honest, I'm not saying like, like tell the truth. I mean like with yourself, like yourself and you're comfortable with yourself. That's an inspiring, honestly. It makes people want to be that way and they will follow you regardless. Trust is really big. It goes into what I was saying earlier about how you can't be everywhere all the time, so you have to trust your teammate to make the decisions. How much responsibility or freedom do you give your teammates in their station?
Well, it depends. I mean, obviously, everyone has responsibilities. Everyone has their certain responsibilities they have to do. May it be prep, may it be cleaning certain items, versus AM versus PM. Um, but there's also those few people that work for me that I believe have a very strong career, not only with Maggiano's, but being a chef in general. And those people I give a lot more responsibilities to.
How's Mario doing? Is he still there?
Mario's still there. Unfortunately, he lost his father to COVID, so he's been out for about a month, took a leave of absence. But he's coming back next week, and that one, that one is going to be the next great chef.
I agree. That's really sad. That's really sad to hear about him, his father, I mean. But I liked him a lot. Him and I actually spoke a lot about music. I remember one time I was telling him how he was listening to Nirvana, and then the Foo Fighters came on right afterwards. I said, "Did you know the drummer of Nirvana is the singer for Foo Fighters?" And he didn't believe me. He thought I was messing with him. But I thought it was really cool because they came off right. They came on right after one another.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I do believe he's got that passion and he's got the drive, and I think he was even going to school not just for culinary but for management, like the real
For
deal.
restaurant management.
He saw what I saw. Really, I didn't truly see the kitchen as a leadership breeding ground until I went to Maggiano's, and I think that's also what he saw as well. He saw not just opportunity for career but for personal growth, and I think it's great. I really recommend anybody, and I don't mean going to any restaurant. I'm not saying going to this specific restaurant, but if you see that in any field and you see the ability to personally just become amazing, I say chase it. I really do.
That's the beauty of the American dream, because there are so many opportunities like that here.
Hmm.
And you're right, not just in the kitchen, but in all fields. It's just you got to find the right place.
I've seen you on social media. You give praise to your employees that do well. How do you show your team that they matter? How do you let them know you care?
Sometimes it could be as small as a fist bump, you know. Sometimes it can be cooking a nice family meal for everybody. But the most important thing is that it's constant, constant. And you don't want it to be cheesy. You don't want it to be forced. But you just have to recognize that when people do something good, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're a 300-pound bodybuilder, big macho man. You still want to be told you're doing a good job. I
Absolutely.
mean, you still want to be recognized. So it's just constant recognition.
It's beautiful. I'm glad. I'm so glad you say a lot of things I'm going to say in my notes. I love it. I think my end quote
Sorry, bro.
is my end quote that you didn't even read. Is small actions make a big difference, but only if repeated over time.
Damn straight.
So that fits right into the theme. I love it. Yeah, like you said, you guys do the family meals. That's great. I think that really is, and it's little okay, even smaller. The fist bump, just recognition, and like obviously do more than just a fist bump, but like just those little things matter so much over to anybody, no matter who you are. That's a language breaking moment there too. Like, it doesn't matter what you speak either. Like everybody speaks a fist bump.
Right?
Let's go into personal struggles and development. This is a section I'm going to try to incorporate in most of my guests. It's more of a therapy type section. But as a leader, a father, a husband, and a friend, what do you think you could personally improve on?
Hmm. I would definitely say organization. I have personal systems that I use for myself to try to keep it as organized as possible, but it doesn't always work out like I want it to.
That's a good one. Do you write down your goals?
I do. I create a development action plan every quarter.
Nice. I think that's really important. They say if you write down your goals, you're something like twice as likely to achieve it, and if you say it or like tell a friend, you're even more likely to achieve it. So I do both sometimes. Like let's say when I wanted to do podcasting, I almost immediately like just set it all over Facebook and started like updating my journey on my podcast to like make it a thing almost. It was almost like making me do it. Do you read?
Well, I don't read often. I did in my youth. I read a lot of Ellen Hopkins. I really liked Ellen Hopkins.
Okay.
But now, I read to focus on my career and to better myself. So I'm currently reading a book called Setting the Table by Danny Myers. Amazing leadership book. Amazing.
Okay. Nice. I listen to a lot of leadership podcasts and audiobooks as well right now in my life. It's part of my self-development period. Where do you plan on going from here?
So I just got accepted into the flight program, and it's a program that you get referred to within Maggiano's, and it's the Future Leadership Team, FLT flight. So right now I'm currently on the journey to make sure that I can get the executive chef position. My ultimate goal is obviously culinary director.
So if you could give advice to those starting out from scratch, for instance, what type of restaurant should you be looking at going to start out in? And what type of restaurant, if you want to be a good cook, try to avoid, in your opinion?
So I believe to get better, I would say not necessarily one type of restaurant, but actually the opposite of that. A lot of different restaurants, different cultures, different foods. If you really want to make it as a cook and a chef, you have to culture yourself within these different things, because you're going to learn different cooking styles. You're going to learn, just so many other aspects of food and restaurant management by going to so many different places. Now, I will say one place you should try to avoid would be a bad work environment. That's a broad spectrum, because the work environment is of the management team, and the job itself is not necessarily a certain type of food or a certain type of restaurant. But
no, I see exactly what you're saying. You're talking about every place has a feel, just like every city. Every city has a feel of people, and you can be surrounded by mediocre people, or you could be surrounded by what we're saying is Maggiano's. You could be surrounded by leaders. You could be surrounded by greatness everywhere. And the sad part is you really don't know until you are in, Like I've bounced around a lot of jobs, and I admit that freely is I've had a lot of jobs where I'm in for a week and it's not a fit. I can tell real quick. It was not for me. Even though I was passionate at the beginning, I blew the interview out, like I knew it. I was really wanting the job, and then a week later, I'm like, nope, never mind. It's not always their fault. I think most of the time it's my fault, to be honest.
You got a good point. Going into a job for a week and ditching out, that's how you're going to be successful.
Yeah.
Because then you get to see, okay, this is not where I want to be. Why is it not where I want to be? What can I learn from this? So when I go to my next job, what can I expect to make sure that I'm in the right place?
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. Like right now, I work in metal fabrication. I do industrial painting, and I'll tell you, I'm a painter. If there was anything I mastered in life, it's painting. And I love this job. They love me, and I make under $20 an hour, so it's not even like the biggest career of my life. I think loving it as much as I do, and satisfaction of doing well at it, I think is worth so much more to me than most things, I'll say.
You want to be a chef, you're interested in these things, but you're doing it right. You're doing it right because you found something that A, you're good at, B, what you want to do, and this is setting your stuff for your future, because sure, you might make under $20 an hour right now, but you also might make $500,000 a year doing the same thing that you're doing on a different scale,
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. And I think it's important to follow whatever you want to do, because whatever you're doing leads to the next. Like right now, I'm starting this podcast. This is actually my dream job. So if I could do this, talking to people more intelligent than me for a living, and to do it often on subjects that I don't want to even limit myself to subjects other than, like, obviously stay away from, politics and things like that. But I don't want to limit myself. But I don't want to limit myself to, like, one particular, like, I want to get this fisherman. There's an expert fisherman here in Valley, and he's got like missing fingers from ice fishing. He's obsessive, and I want to get him on a podcast. I know nothing about fishing, but I'd learn a lot. I think that'd be really cool. So this would be like, if I could
Cool.
transition this into being my life, that'd be great. And it's arthritis friendly, which I love.
There you go.
But yeah, okay, let's see if there's anything else before. I think that's it. I want to leave you with a challenge. I challenge you and the listeners, anybody who has a team under them, and consider, well, even if you don't consider yourself a leader, if you have people that look up to you and rely on you to lead them, I want you to sit each teammate down, have a one-on-one conversation with them. And it could be 5 minutes, it could be 20 minutes, but see where they're at, see if they're struggling at home. More importantly, see what their goals and dreams are, and see if they're actually looking to advance through the company. And if that's something that, if they didn't think about it before, it might actually spark a thing, win them. And then after that, if somebody's not fit for management, I'm not saying, promote them to manager, but try to guide them the best you can in a plan that can help them reach their goal. And this would be a forever challenge, maybe once a year, maybe once a month. That's up to you. Small actions make a big difference, but only if repeated over time. I had a really good time, Shawn. I would love to do this again if I think of another topic that we can go on, or if we could even maybe do another leadership thing if I can think of enough content in that sense. I miss you. I miss the team. Please say hi to people, whoever knows me at least, especially Will. Tell Will hi, because he went a route that is also very impressive, starting from a dishwasher, working his way up into management, and he did well. And he was also, he's his own way, he's his own style, and I think he's doing well, and I hope he's well.
He's doing quite well. He's really started to develop into himself as a future executive chef. He's become more empathetic. He's doing absolutely well. And Hobart, before I leave, I would like to say something to anyone listening. And this is something that it doesn't matter if you're wanting to be a leader. It doesn't matter if you're just wanting to chase your dreams. Just don't ever forget. No matter how much you know, there's so much that you don't know. So every day, keep learning, and keep learning, and keep learning. And then when you think that you are a master at something, keep fucking learning.